Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Not Scrum Dumb podcast. I am your co-host, Grand Scrum Master Scott, and this is my amazing, super duper co-host.
Adriana Marshall.
Today, we're switching things up and we're going to talk about how you can improve your technical skills. And I couldn't imagine interviewing nobody else other than our legendary co-host, Miss Adriana Marshall, because ladies and gentlemen, she's been working on something super duper big, wild big. First of all, congratulations, Adriana, on your latest Amazon Web Services Solution Architect Associate certification. That's a really long certification, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? That's okay. We're going to find all about it today because I really don't know what it means either. So you and I are going to learn something new today. In a previous video, we talked about do you need to be a technical Scrum Master? And Adriana's been working on this, and I want her to share with us. First of all, what is Amazon Web Services?
Amazon Web Services is an on demand cloud computing platform. So instead of companies having to build out their own data centers, their own hardware, they can use AWS instead. That way they pay as they go. They don't have to pay for all of the equipment and get everything set up.
Adriana, what is this certification?
This is the associate level certification at AWS. Basically, it's going to showcase knowledge and skills in AWS technology across a wide range of AWS services. The focus of the certification is on the design of cost optimized solutions, your ability to design a performance optimized architecture, your ability to design resilient architecture, and your ability to design secure applications and architectures.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So tell me, Adriana, of all the certifications out here on the planet, why did you get this particular certification? What were you thinking as you was zeroing in and saying, hey, this is the one? Tell us about that process.
This started a few years ago. Before I worked at Amazon, I worked at Nike, and one manager that I had was giving some really great advice on how to grow my career. And he would always give like little tidbits. And he's like, you always got to be thinking about what's happening next and growing your skills in that. And the thing that he said was the cloud. And I was a little bit like, okay, like this was at a time where, of course, it was being talked about, but it wasn't necessarily as in your face as it is today. And I was like, that's interesting. And I always kept that in the back of my mind. I changed jobs to Amazon, and obviously it's right in your face. Everything we use is obviously AWS. So, in order to understand what's going on, it just made sense to learn and gain these skills. You miss out on so much context in a conversation on a daily basis. It was a must do. But for anyone out there, I'm giving you the advice that my former manager gave me. It really is going to help you in your career as everyone is moving that direction that hasn't already. Anyone can correct my numbers in the chat if I'm a little off, but I believe 90% of Fortune 500 companies use AWS. So this is your time. If I'm a little off, write it in the comments. But I believe that's the correct number.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Ah, so beautiful. Now, Adriana, is this an entry level certification or not? Tell us a little bit about the certification itself. Entry level, what level, where are
Yeah,
we at?
this is the second level. So there's a foundational level that's called AWS Cloud Practitioner. So if you're just trying to get started, you're trying to figure out where do I start in my cloud learning journey, which a lot of people have reached out about over the last few months. What I will say is that's probably the best place to start if you have zero experience in the cloud or you need a little bit more background. Even if you, in my opinion, if you have a little experience, I think it's a good one to learn and take just so you understand how this AWS certifications are usually worded and how they're done, how they're proctored. I got that in December of 2021. So that one is definitely the first one that I took. I do recommend it. When I was in the training, I wasn't in the training with a bunch of technical people. It was marketing and sales. Anyone who wanted to learn AWS, it's a great foundational course. You learn a lot of the same things in the SAA. The SAA is obviously deeper knowledge. You actually need to be able to build architectures. You do a lot of labs in your trainings for the Solutions Architect Associate. While with the cloud practitioner, you're learning just what the cloud is. So if you're like, I have no idea, and obviously I only gave you a 30-second blurb, it does go a lot deeper in like what the cloud is, regions, data centers, cost of each of these services are at a high level. It's a really great class for anyone to get a good understanding of what AWS is.
That's some great information. I'm glad you explained what the classroom looked like because I was wondering as you was talking about the classroom setup. You answered the question, but I'm thinking, oh my God, there's a lot of developers and programmers, just all technical people in this. I'm glad you explained that for everyone else to know that there's different people from all walks of life at these classes getting this certifications. That is beautiful to know. So with that, let's talk about Andriana. What is the best way for somebody to get started with these certifications? Is it self-study? I just go online, take an online class. What does that look like?
My first experience is I took a live virtual class. I thought it was great because of the information that I just shared was like you get to meet people of all different walks and that it is foundational and you get to ask the instructor questions. Now, I did also get a training that I thought was really good. It's a little older now, it's not up to date, but it was done by Amazon, one of their official trainings. It walked through how the cloud works with the coffee shop, and I thought that was really awesome because it helped me understand from a non-technical perspective. We've all been to a coffee shop. We've all been to Starbucks. So seeing, oh, you can use this service for a queue, or when a customer takes an order, you can use this service. So it was really cool in that aspect, but it was totally out of date. I did find a new one and I did self-study, and in about 2 weeks, I ended up passing it. So it's not something that's going to take you a long time. I took the first training just because someone sent it to me. They were like, "Oh, you can go for free." So I went for free. I didn't even try to get the certification. It was just a good thing to learn and understand. When I really was like, "Oh, I'm going to get the certification," it was like 2 weeks. So it's something that you can do pretty quickly. Whether you do it in a classroom setting, the class was 1 day. That you could really be done in a day. And then you do a little bit of studying, maybe a week or so. So self studying, it was 2 weeks.
Wow, thank you so much for answering that. Now, I know all the subscribers or listeners are wondering about, okay, we got all this information, but how is this going to help me? How is this going to help someone on their job or help complement their role to help, let's say, make them more marketability, help them to understand the landscape of where they're at if they're using AWS?
The first thing that comes to mind in terms of let's just take on the job, your ability to understand the conversation is really important. We talk a little bit about speaking the language. If you don't understand what anyone's saying, how can you facilitate? How can you truly understand and help them overcome their disagreement? Without that background, I don't think I'd be able to have as much input. And for me personally, it's interesting to have those conversations and understand those trade offs and understand who's owning what and why because of that. And then also understanding some of the security risks or the gaps that we may have if we choose one solution over another. One instance, I worked with a team that did a migration and I didn't understand what was happening. I had no idea the effort it took to migrate. While now I totally understand the effort it takes to migrate and also the tools they can use to minimize that effort. It improves your credibility. We're all in this industry, even though we're not in a technical position, being in this industry for a long time and not continuously every year growing your skills in some form or fashion, whether that is understanding, maybe if you start with Scrum, then you go to Kanban, or then you understand waterfall. At some point, you need to gain a little bit more technical understanding and skill, no matter what that is. It may not end up in a certification.
To your point, it does help you in your credibility with the team. I had one little story that I was thinking about as you was telling that. I had a Scrum Master come on the team I was training, and we was actually getting ready to release, and we had to roll it back. Now, after we did that, he called me to the side, which I'm glad he did. Said, Scott, what is a rollback? I come from Walmart. What does retail rollback at Walmart got to do with us putting code in production? I'm so glad you came to me and asked me that question because you would have lost all credibility with your team.
Yeah.
So for those you don't know what a rollback is, it's not Walmart. We're not talking about Walmart rollback. Okay. I'll let you do your homework. And for our next question, Adriana, what other jobs this certification can open up for someone who has either one of these certifications?
If you want to continue down this route, cloud solutions architect is one of them, cloud consulting, cloud engineer for some people that do want to transition to being an engineer. Some companies, they may not have a scrum master, but they have technical program managers, and it does require that understanding of the cloud. Pretty much every major company has started to use the cloud. So obviously Amazon being one of those, Microsoft has their own solution, Google has their own cloud solution, Meta, from what I understand, uses AWS. It's something that you do want to understand if you want to open up your opportunities, even if you're not necessarily going into a technical role, but a program manager in a lot of these companies will have that same understanding.
That's amazing. But ladies and gentlemen, we've given you an awful lot of content throughout the day. Hopefully you can use something that Andriana shared with us. We both had an opportunity to learn about this certification. And you know what? I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to give this some further exploration because I'm also thinking about the CEO of NVIDIA was talking about this, just adding on to what Andriana is sharing with us, is that the data centers of the future won't be physical places. They're going to be where? In the cloud. If you enjoyed this video, first of all, I need y'all to do what? Hit that subscribe button. If you made it to the end of this video, you have an attention span greater than what? Y'all know the story. Greater than a goldfish, right?
Be legendary, everyone, but not scrum dumb.